What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're back with another episode of Lions Latest. As you can see, we're not in the studio today, but this felt like an update video that we needed to do. I don't need to make this super long. Tomorrow, we're going to do our pregame, our preview. We're going to tie that all into one. It's probably going to be a pretty long show. This is a massive game. So I'm like, let's just do it on game day. It's a night game. The early games are kind of trash. So tomorrow, we're going to do the full preview kind of breakdown type of thing. We'll show the film. We'll do all that. Maybe have some special guests. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, okay? Because I'm working through the Vikings still today. But I did want to update the roster news that we got so far today. The Detroit Lions have activated both linebacker Alex Anzalone and Kalif Raymond off of IR. As we're practicing, they had opened up the practice window, and yesterday, according to Dan Campbell, it sounded like they were going to wait another week with Alex Anzalone because, they had the playoffs coming up and they needed to make sure that he was ready, and he said that, usually we give these guys a week of practice and that way they're ready for the next week, but these turnarounds have been really fast, and he had the broken forearm injury. Now he's been activated, so I'm not 100% sure he's going to play, but this makes me feel like he could definitely be out in the field, and this could be a massive addition for the Lions in this final regular season game for the 1 seed with that on the line. And we'll talk about more why here in a second. But also Kalif Raymond, I think we will see Kalif Raymond. Tom Kennedy gets signed back to the practice squad. He was our returner for a second there. I think Kalif Raymond's going to play. Probably go back as our returner, which is huge because he was arguably the best returner in the NFL before he went out. Whether they're looking at grades, looking at stats, one of the best, 14.4 yards per punt return so far this season. And then also, let's not forget, Kalif Raymond had a big game against Minnesota the first time around. He had 3 receptions. He had a touchdown in that game. He had a massive third down pickup. He cooked Stephon Gilmore multiple times in that game. The third down pickup was man coverage. I checked the line, one on the deep out route, right? We had him early in the game, had a little underneath. This is a heavy cover 3 defense. So that makes sense. Lions create a little bit of a rub out of it, pick up 5 yards on the second and long. But the big touchdown was just a drag route that cooked Stephon Gilmore immediately, and he took it into the end zone with a nice help from a really good block. So Kalif Raymond had a really big game. He's always a matchup piece, and when you look at where the secondary is right now for Minnesota, it's good. It's pretty well rounded, but you kick out Griffin when you put 3 receivers on the field. They step inside Byron Murphy, and then they're going to have Stephon Gilmore now on the outside. That's typically what I've seen with that. There's matchups I like, and Stephon Gilmore has been hit and miss this year. At games where he's looking credible, but against really tough matchups, especially guys that can really win against man coverage, which is what Kalif does. You can see the numbers so far on the season. It's a small sample size, but he's really good against man. He's always been that. Even when he doesn't get the ball, he's getting open. That is a really key kind of matchup piece potentially in a game like this that could be more valuable than, say, a guy like Tim Patrick, depending on the situation, but especially on third down, because it's a very heavy man coverage team on third down. There's blitzing out of that. Sometimes there's not blitzing. Sometimes there's 2-man looks, but it's a very heavy man coverage team on third down, especially recently. And because of that, Kalif Raymond has a real role in those spots. So I'd keep an eye on the value of Kalif Raymond, and then maybe he gives us a big special teams play that changes things or keeps us from being pinned at our own 4-yard line on a great punt, something along those lines. The other guy, Alex Anzalone, is also massive. Now, this goes beyond this week, but if we're looking at for this week, if he is playing in this game, he's important because our linebackers have to play fast. Scraping sideline to sideline to getting downhill, you have to play fast in this game as a linebacker, and Alex Anzalone, to me, maybe your best linebacker just playing fast. So whether it is sideline to sideline with an offense that does a lot through these outside rushes, a lot of toss plays, they like to get to the sideline with Aaron Jones. They stress you that way. It was also a game that DJ Reader didn't play incredibly well in. He had some struggles with consistency there in this game because of that rushing scheme, so he'll be a guy to definitely circle. But it means a lot to have Alex potentially back for a game like this because even last time he played this team was where we were at injury-wise. We had Malcolm in the game a lot when they went to more of their 12 or 21 personnel, which they'll do, especially with CJ Ham. All of a sudden, he was able to step into that Sam backer role, and he had the ability to help set the edge, which is massive. You got to push things back inside. He does that well. The Lions did a really good job of kind of focusing on funneling everything back into the inside, which is what you have to do. So I think he's a great matchup for the rushing attack for Minnesota in this game because if you watch Green Bay, Edgerrin Cooper had himself a day against the Vikings, but so much of it was aggression, downhill, flying side of the sideline, beating offensive linemen to their spot. And right now, that Minnesota offensive line is not fantastic. Okay, Green Bay, I understand they didn't have a ton of sacks and the Vikings had success, but they got a lot of wins there. So Alex is going to be huge for this game if he can play. Plus, TJ Hawkins is now available, which changes things. But when I'm looking at the changes that we've made, there's some areas where it could actually be a positive. First off, Iffy at safety now gives us a little bit more height. And I know that sounds random as heck, and it could be. I think it opens up actually the opportunity of him getting a hand on a big pass when the Lions go cover 3, because they did a lot against Minnesota. Green Bay did as well, and it works. The problem is that the response from Minnesota is a lot of those like immediately behind the second level player. Justin Jefferson breaks it off immediately behind the second level player. It's typically the response from Minnesota because they get cover 6 looks. They try to break those guys right behind second level players. But if it's Iffy in the game, last time it was Branch at safety, so he was the buzz player. He'd get into the hook curl zone, but he could play with depth and make it a little bit cloudy. Iffy has a lot of height where he can kind of make it really cloudy because of just his size. That allows Branch then to also be a player that could either work middle of the field from the slot role or even into the flats, which would help us again in terms of containment. So I like those two on the field. The matchup becomes super helpful to have a guy like Alex Anzalone is for TJ Hawkinson, because when the Lions, especially if it's third and longer, when the Lions go play man coverage, because they like to, when they get to those spots, especially on third down, that's kind of their go-to thing, they like to try to keep 2 deep safeties against this team. It allows them to be aggressive, throw off timing at the line, which is massive. It allows you to press, and then corners can kind of play a little more undercut, and then they can get a little bit more support over top. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, rather than just being on an island. And that gives you a lot more opportunity. It allows you to play super aggressive, and I wouldn't be shocked if they try to do that again, but the problem becomes is now you're taking out a safety that can cover Hawk. Well, we could see that matchup a few times, Hawkinson versus Anzalone. You probably don't want to live there. Hawkinson's been amazing against man coverage, maybe the best tight end in football this year. But if there is a linebacker that I'd want in that spot, give me Alex Anzalone. To me, he gives us the best shot. And I think the other guy would be to keep an eye on in this game is Trevor Nowatzki, because if Trevor continues to play the Sam role and it's not Alex like it was last time because Malcolm's not here, Trevor's a key, because we saw last week one of the touchdown runs, Trevor lost his gap. It was a horizontal run. He lost his gap. He has to be better there. But Trevor did see the field last time, and he played really well, played pretty fast in space, made some big plays on sub packages. So he did see the field. All right, this isn't new to him to play this team. But Alex Anzalone is like, Alex and Kalif are like the perfect 2 people to get back for this week, if I'm being honest. You're looking at who, I mean, obviously you prefer Hutch and things like that, but these are great pieces for what they meant last time we played this team to get them back. Aside of that, they said there's no changes to the injury status. Emmanuel Mosley has unfortunately been added to the illness list, which definitely stinks. Hopefully he's okay there. Chris Smith has been elevated off the practice squad for this game. That's been happening recently, but 9 snaps last week, played the snaps pretty well. It's a very limited role, but he could be very crucial again. I think he's a better fit than Broderick Martin for this matchup specifically, so that makes sense to me. And they also elevated their cornerback Stanley Thomas Oliver without having Emmanuel Mosley. Now they need some more depth. Vildor would still be the backup, but they just need another body for depth without having Emmanuel Mosley, who was at very least being active until unfortunately being placed on that list. And then they also again signed Mo Norris, the safety, back to the active roster. So happy for you, Mo Norris. He's been getting special teams rep, played 20 last week. He did have the dumb flag though, so let's avoid those. But those are the moves. And then again, Tom Kennedy back to the practice squad. Those are the moves that have been made. Again, the injury report's the same, so no Monty. These are 2 massive getbacks for this game specifically, and then of course going forward because they add so much to their respective units. And if you haven't seen my defensive video where I break down the Niners game, but I also talk about kind of the state of the Lions defense, I posted like 2 days ago on, I think it was Friday, either way, 2 days ago, I think. Check that video out. It's worth watching, and we talk about the effect of Alex Anzalone. I think that's in the title. So check that out, right? Without even showing Alex, we just talk about what it would mean for this defense and why we need him back to have an instinctual player like that. But this is a great matchup to get him back for, so hopefully he's playing. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be back tomorrow with our preview, our pregame show live. We may even do 2 tomorrow, but at very least we'll have 1. So check that out. I'll see y'all then. Sunday Night Football, and we're out.